Hey, it's your friend Choice CJ here, and I'm coming to you guys with another part of my March Madness tournament run. And in case you missed the last episode, I went over the first round of pool play. We were fortunate enough to go 4-0 in that tournament, or in that part of the tournament. And that brings us right to the day of the tournament, Saturday, March 25th. We were put into another pool, a pool of 4 people, and we had to get in the top 2 in order to advance to the final bracket, which was pretty crazy. And so I'm going to, in just a moment, show you all the teams that I made for this part, and then we'll get into what happens after that. I just want to go ahead and give a shout out to everybody who was in my pool, if I can find it. Here we go. So my group was Trev CL, coach of the Atlanta Braviaries, Damon, coach of the LA Landorus, and It's Whatever, coach of the Sacramento No Kings. Now, Trev is someone who I've known in the community for quite a while now, known him for about a year, and he's very talented. I don't know Damon and It's Whatever, but they obviously advanced at this point, so they are pretty talented as well. And yeah, with that, let's go ahead and I'm going to jump right into our first match. Okay, so on the day of the tournament, the first person who I was able to battle was Trev. And as I mentioned in the intro, he's someone who I've known for a while, and someone who is very, very threatening in the draft league format. He's one of the best players that's out there, and his team should be popping up. He has Tapu Bulu, Megaladios, Heatran, Scolipede, Xurkitree, Terrakion, Vaporeon, and Staraptor. Now, he went only 3-1 in the pools, the preliminary pools, but that's because like in his 3 victories, he literally got 3 6-0s, and pretty much every time it was because he went with Baton Pass Speed into Xurkitree. So Xurkitree would then just set up a Tail Glow and just literally win, so that was pretty crazy. So I don't really have a counterplay to that, so I figured I would kind of just bring like a fun team, and like if I get the opportunity to set up with something, I could potentially win the game, but I'm going into this kind of expecting a lopsided game. So first off, I do have a Dragon Dance Salamence, Dragon Dance Declaw, Fly Earthquake. Salamence did really well for me in the prelims, and I'm banking on it doing the same. I put enough speed on here for Xurkitree, and at +1, we should be outspeeding his entire team, because his fastest member without any boosts, like, it is the Scolipede, but Scolipede's never going to be running like a Timid Nature or anything. So yeah, he can just smack most of his team with his coverage, which is pretty nice. We have a Tangaberry Tyranitar. I'm going to be leading with this thing, going for Rock Slide on the Scolipede lead, getting up rocks if I feel it's appropriate, and then I want to try and Pursuit the Baton Pass, which we'll find out later doesn't work quite as well as I thought. But yeah, this is going to be the lead. We do have Tuscan here, Chople Berry, with Swords Dance, Earthquake, Iron Head, and Sandstorm. I have this as a sweeper, as like basically like a double dance sweeper. I do also, like, I have Chople Berry in here just to take a hit from Terrakion, because I have no counterplay to Terrakion whatsoever. But mostly I want to use my Zapdos, which is Agility Baton Pass, to go into my Tuscan. And we do have Thunderbolt and Hinder Power Flying on this, which is pretty nice. It's kind of walled by Xurkitree, but that's why it'd be great if we can then Baton Pass into Excadrill. Like, we don't even need to have the Sand up in order for the Baton Pass to be useful, but if we can Baton Pass into it and then go for a Sandstorm, we're definitely going to be outspeeding like any variant of Scolipede that has Speed Pass. Like, there's no way he's going to be able to like stall us out with subs and protects and stuff like that. So yeah, so Zapdos is kind of a win condition on its own, but I can also pass into Tuscan, which is pretty fun. I can also use this Zapdos to pass into my Life Orb Finny, Moonblast, Hydro Pump, HP Poison, and Taunt. This thing literally kills his entire team after rocks. So if I can do that, then I'm going to be in a position to steal this game, pending any Hydro Pump misses and things like that. So that's pretty nice. I unfortunately missed the nickname on this. Tapu Fini has been Katy Perry for me all tournament. And then last but not least, we do have Alolan Ninetales with Choice Scarf, Aurora Veil, Freeze Dry, HP Ground, and Moonblast. I wanted this to be able to revenge kill Staraptor, Terrakion, Scarf Circuitry, things like that. Maybe like a +1 Mega Latios if he's going for Dragon Dance and things like that. But yeah, this also does really well to his team with his coverage, and if I can get off a fast Aurora Veil, that'll also be conducive for my setup. So yeah, should be nice. Let's hop right on into the match. Okay, so here we are at Team Preview versus Trev. He has brought Tapu Bulu, Xurkitree, Terrakion, Scolipede, Heatran, and Staraptor. So lots of threats here. I'm quite scared of this team. And of course, the number one thing on my mind is this Baton Pass Scolipede, trying to give boosts to the Xurkitree. So to counter that, I'm going to just lead off with my Tyranitar, as he actually leads with Terrakion. So I don't have a play against this, because I don't want to take a CC. And I go into Mence, and he straight KOs me. Going into Mence there, I could, I guess, resist the close combat. And if he decided to make this prediction, which he really had no reason not to, like, it was so obvious that I wasn't staying in with T-Tar, I wasn't going to be that sad about losing my Mence, just because I don't need it to win. It's just like a good win con if I get the chance to set up. So turn 1, stack that. Turn 2, I go into my Ninetales, and I know that I outspeed this thing, even if it's Scarf. I have no idea if it's Scarf or not, because Scarf Stone Edge still kills Salamence. And I just want to go for the Moonblast. He might not be expecting my Scarf. I go for it, and I don't kill him, because I'm not a boosting item. And he kills my Ninetales as well. So things are not off to a nice start. And I go into my Drill, because I have the Chople Berry. If he's somehow not Scarfed, I can live one and go for Sandstorm and potentially do some work. And he reveals that he is not Scarfed, goes for the CC, does like 80%, and we are able to get off this hit, or get off his Sandstorm. He's going to switch out, and I'm going to go for Iron Head, because it was going to kill the Terrakion anyway, so that's pretty nice. And I'm going to go for Iron Head again and try and kill this Bulu, but he's going to make a good play into his Heatran, as I go for Iron Head once more. Now, you know, I have to try and figure out if he's going to be Shuca Berry or not. He almost certainly is Shuca Berry if he brought his Heatran in like this. In case he's like trying to burn out the Sandstorm turns, like maybe he'll go into Staraptor next. Like predicting my Earthquake, I decide to go for Swords Dance here. And, you know, I'm like still feel like I'm pretty far in the back. So I want to try and make a play to try and get ahead. And I'm hoping that he switches out. I go for Swords Dance, and he does not switch out. He goes straight for the Earth Power and takes us out. So awesome. Off to a great start here. Now, this is actually really important. I should, like, the best play for me here is to go into my T-Tar and set up Stealth Rocks. And as long as he stays in, I can just sack my T-Tar, go into my Zapdos, pass speed into my Tapu Fini, and I can actually win the game. I get a little over-eager, and I go into my Zapdos directly. And he's going to go for the Fire Blast, which will do a lot of damage, but I'm going to be able to get off this Agility. It does 64%, and I can Baton Pass right into my Fini. So my Fini is max attack, modest with a Life Orb. I can go for a Hydro and nail this Heatran, which is pretty nice. And now he's going to go right into his Scolipede. He's going to Protect and go for Pump. I don't know what the calcs are on this Scolipede. I go for Pump again. He's at 16%, and he's able to jab and take me out, which is really sad. Really, really sad. So the reason that this is sad is because, like I said, if I had gone into my T-Tar and gotten up rocks, that Scully would not have lived. And we would have been able to actually 6-0 sweep him as long as we hit all of our Hydro Pumps. Because I have, like, Moonblast to hit, like, Staraptor for 99% damage minimum of Bulu's dead to Moonblast, although I do have HP Poison. Terrakion is whittled. Xurkitree does die to a Hydro Pump. So I actually think I could have won, but I got a little hasty, got a little bit like thrown off by the matchup, a little bit scared of Trev, and I'm not going to be able to beat him now. And he does go for Baton Pass, and I thought I would go into my T-turn, I could Pursuit it, but joke's on me, Pursuit does not work on Baton Pass. It works on U-turn, it works on Volt Switch, but it does not work on Baton Pass. So I was a little sad about that as well. So just misplay after misplay. But hey, I'm doing some good learning, and sometimes that's as much as you can ask for. Somehow not going to kill my Tyranitar, but oh well. I don't have any way to kill this Bulu. It's just a matter of letting him kill my last two Pokemon. And my Zapdos, it is pretty offensive. It's quite whittled. And yeah, he's just going to be able to take me out with a Stone Edge. So that's going to be a good game. Nice game, Trev. Again, like 9 times out of 10, Trev's going to beat me there. But I'm at least happy with the fact that if I had made one play differently, I think I could have won that game. Just by going into Rocks first on the T-Tar. With the T-Tar versus the Heatran. There's no guarantee, because then he could have switched out into like Bulu, for example. And I think that Stone Edge from Bulu should kill an offensive Zapdos. I'm not positive, but anyway, we are going to start this second round of the tournament with an 0-1 record. Let's see if we can turn things around in the next few games. Okay, so after we got bopped in that first game, we really need to bounce back and win our next 2 games. That's going to be our best chance of advancing. I guess there's like some opportunities for some ties at with a 1-2 record, but I'd rather not get into that situation, especially because my differential's not great. It would just be pretty bad. And with 2-1 record, I guess it's also possible that there's some sort of tie with Trev and me and somebody else, but those are just complicated scenarios. They're not too common. But anyway, we are now going up against the LA Landorus, coached by Damon, and his team is Lando T, Tapu Koko, Celesteela, Zygarde, Volcarona, Alola Muck, Mega Blastoise, and Uxie. So Volcarona is a Pokemon that I'm really scared of. I was really scared of it when I faced it in the prelims, and my team hasn't changed since then, obviously. It does have a little bit of 4-move slot syndrome versus me, but still a threat. Koko is hard to deal with, it's very annoying. Lando T is a huge problem for my team. I don't have counterplay to it because both of my ground immunities are pretty vulnerable to Stone Edge. Luckily, it's not Lando is not his Z move user, so he can't use Continental Crush on me. I could use Celebi, but Celebi's kind of bad. I haven't been able to get much use out of Celebi as I'd like, as I would have liked. But it did do well in the matchups versus stuff like Mega Lopunny. I haven't faced any Lopunny since my prelims though. But yeah, we do have Ninetales with Blizzard, Freeze Dry, and HP Rock. Hits his whole team. And Aurora Veil is there to set up for our potential sweep. We put enough speed on this thing to outspeed, Volcarona. We also have a mixed offensive Mence, Draco Meteor, Fire Blast, Earthquake, and Stone Edge. I figure he's probably going to be wanting to use his Lando to pivot into this thing if it's defensive, and he'll try and intimidate me, but I am obviously going to be packing some pretty powerful special coverage. And the Furium Z is there for Celesteela, which is another good switch in for this thing. I can go for a Fire Blast. Hopefully, if it's packing Occa Berry, I can connect with the Fire Blast and burn that Occa Berry, and then hit it up with a, Inferno Overdrive. I think that's what it is. Next, we have Shuca Berry, Excadrill, Stealth Rock, Earthquake, Iron Head, Swords Dance. This is for Tapu Koko. And it also just does reasonably well versus his team. It can hit the Muck pretty hard. It can deal really well with Uxie. Shuca Berry is there just to potentially take a hit from something like Zygarde or Lando, and hit it back with a big hit. But this is, Excadrill's in a tough position because it can't really do a lot to, either Celesteela or Lando. So yeah, I'm mostly just using this as a check for Koko, and if that thing's packing HP ground, we can bop it with an Earthquake afterwards. Zapdos is T-Bolt, Hidden Power, Ice, Defog, Roost. Nothing special. It can deal with Lando relatively well. Also can deal good damage to Blastoise and Celesteela. So this is a nice Mon this week. Katy Perry is bringing Choice Spec Set, Hydro Pump, Surf, Ice Beam, Moonblast. I really like offensive Tapu Fini. Defensive is just so underwhelming, I feel like. But yeah, he has really a lot of difficulty switching into this coverage. And then finally, we have a Focus Sash Salazzle. If he's like Rock Polish Lando or Dragon Dance Zygarde or something else, like it's just nice to have this as sort of an emergency button versus those Mons. Go for HP Ice versus them, or if he's like a setup Coco or whatever. If he's set up Celesteela, if he's a Totemize, as long as Stealth Rocks aren't up, we can use Salazzle to revenge something, basically. So that is the team. Let's hop into the battle. Okay, so here we are up against the LA Landorus, and Damon has brought Lando T, Celesteela, Tapu Koko, Muck, Mega Blastoise, and Volcarona. So he left the Uxie on the bench, which made a lot of sense. And what was the other Pokemon he left on the bench? I can go check right now. It is Zygarde. So not seeing Zygarde is actually a huge relief because I don't have a way to deal with that. I really, really don't. I just have my Zapdos, I guess. And I've got my Sash Salazzle to get off an HP Ice that probably isn't going to kill because Zygarde is so bulky. But anyway, I'm expecting him to lead just with his Lando here because that makes the most sense. Coco also makes some sense just because both of them provide momentum opportunities, and Lando can also set up rocks. In fact, it's the only rocker on his team. He does lead with the Muck, though, which is kind of interesting. I led with the Zapdos because I figured it was a pretty good play versus both the Coco and the Lando, but Muck was quite a surprise to me. And I think this is my default Zapdos. If this is like a Spit F Muck, there's not a whole lot that I can do to this thing. I also really want to get Toxic if he's packing that. So I am just going to go hard into my Mence, which is packing the Z Crystal, as he goes for knockoff. And I knew that wasn't going to do a whole lot of damage. I go for Fire Blast, expecting the Celesteela to come in, as he just goes hard Lando and does 40%. We get the burn, which is definitely unfortunate, but I know that I can kill with the next Draco, so I'm not really that worried about it. And I'm gonna outspeed this Lando as well. So actually, I think I'm modest, so maybe I don't. But I just go for the Draco, take him out, and he's gonna bring in his Volcarona next. Now I am -1 attack, but this is a Salamence with Stone Edge, and there's no way that this Volk's gonna live this Stone Edge. He goes for Quiver, trying to take advantage of me. I don't even know what coverage he could be packing for me. Like, if he's packing HP Ice, that means he doesn't have, what is it? Like, he's gonna want HP Ground to hit Salazzle. He also is gonna want, like, he needs, like, Giga Drain, Bug Buzz, Fire Blast, and then Hidden Power, Ground, maybe. Like, if he's packing HP Ice, then Salazzle Mono Walls that. And then I also had, what was my other Pokemon? Like, Celebi, and then my last Pokemon was Tyranitar. So I just didn't think he could, like, realistically pack all 4 moves. Like, he can only choose 3 of them. Like, if he doesn't have Giga Drain and he only has HP Ice, he can't hit Finny, etc. So I didn't think there's any chance that he could even go for something like HP Ice versus my Mence. Like, he wasn't going to scare me out. And even though, like, I got the crit, like, I don't think the crit mattered whatsoever. Volcarona is not bulky. And if he's running enough speed to outspeed Mence, he's definitely not bulky. So 2 kills right off the bat with Mence feels really good. He's going to go into his Coco. I'm just going to go straight to Drill because that's my designated Coco switch in. And if I'm not mistaken, he predicts this, yeah, and gets off a nice hit. And he reveals that he has Life Orb. So we can take one more, but not after this U-turn. And he's just going to go right into Celesteela. It's a good play on his part. I'm just going to get up my rocks because it's going to slowly chip his team down. Zapdos is my best switch into Celesteela as he goes for Leech Seed. Unfortunately misses. Definitely sucks because, you know, chipping down my Zapdos would be really nice. I believe now he's just going to go into his Muck. And I'm going to go for the T-Bolt because, you know, nothing on his team really wants to take it. And it is boosted by the Electric Terrain. Actually, I don't think I get the electric terrain boost because I'm in the air, but I don't know that for sure. But anyway, I go into Mence again because I can intimidate, and there's not that much that he can do. He can potentially go for poison jab, but it doesn't do much damage either. As he doubles into Coco, nice play on his part. And I believe I just sack my Ninetales here. Yeah, so he's gonna go for the D-Gleam, attacking what's in front of him. And I just want to get some more Life Orb hits on him, and this Hail is also helping me out to whittle him down. And he's now at 36%. I think I go into Salazzle here. I do. And he can potentially bring me down to my Sash, but he just switches out as I go for Sludge Wave. He brings in the Muck, and I can go for Fire Blast and take this thing out. But, surprise, he has Figgy Berry. So now I just have to hit 2 Fire Blasts in order to KO him. Goes for Knockoff, gets rid of my Sash. No big deal. I'm in range of dying to 2 more Hail hits, but luckily not 1, and Hail does expire on this turn. I hit my Fire Blast and kill the Muck, which is great. Coco comes in, takes another round of rocks. It does have Life Orb, so it only has 3 rounds of Life Orb left in it. So I just need to survive basically another turn. I'm going to sack my Drill because it doesn't do anything versus Celesteela or Blastoise, to be honest. And now that he's only at 4%, I can go to my Zapdos, and I'm just going to Roost, because any attacking move he wants to go for, I can get back most of the damage from that. So he does a clean 74% with the Thunderbolt, but after roosting and after leftovers, we're looking nice with 83%. Goes into his Blastoise, which I don't really understand, but I want to preserve my Zapdos, because that's the only thing I have to beat the Celesteela. Without it, I've got no shot. And Blastoise realistically can't run any set to beat Finny. So I do go straight into Finny as he goes for Rapid Spin, I believe. No, he just goes for Ice Beam, which makes sense. He wanted to attack the Zapdos. He has no chance of freezing because of the Misty Terrain. And I just start firing off Specs boosted pumps. Because again, like, I was kind of expecting him to switch into Celesteela. And so, like, I could have clicked Moonblast to hit this Blastoise in front of me. But I didn't want Celesteela to come in for free. And plus I knew that Blastoise couldn't do anything to me anyway. So I do 3 at KO with Pump. And yeah, eventually I'm going to get kills on both of these Pokemon. So get another 30% off. I just need to keep hitting Pumps. Goes for Scald, does 20%. I'm surprised it does that much, to be honest. But not a big deal. Kill the Blastoise. Celesteela comes in. Even if he finds a way to kill my Finny, I do have Zapdos, which can do a ton of damage. Pump does 60%, as you can see, and he misses a second Leech Seed, which really sucks for him, but it wouldn't have saved him. There's no way he was going to be able to win this game at this point. And with that, we do improve to 1-1 in the pool, so all we've got to do is win one more game, and we might have a shot at advancing to the bracket stage. So fingers crossed. Let's see if we can make this happen. Alright, so now we're 1-1, and things are looking pretty good if we can secure a victory in this final match. And standing in our way is It's Whatever, coach of the Sacramento Nidokings, and his team is Tapu Fini, Mega Aggron, Flygon, Cresselia, Alomomola, Jolteon, Registeel, and Mienshao. So this is kind of a stall team. Like, he's got plenty of offense with, like, Jolteon and Mienshao. Fini can be offensive. Aggron can be offensive. Flygon is obviously offensive. But, like, the Cress, Aloe, Registeel, Aggron core is, like, pretty dirty. But luckily, we've got a pretty good counter to that. Or several good counters to that. But anyway, first up, we have a Expert Belt T-Tar, Crunch, Pursuit, Stealth Rock, and Thunder Punch. This is the main thing to switch into Cresselia. Cresselia's got kind of a bad matchup versus me, to be honest. Just with Tyranitar and Excadrill being able to wall its most popular sets. So that's pretty nice. Thunder Punch is there for Finny. And we do outspeed a 0-speed Finny with this set. We outspeed a 0-speed Cresselia with this set. So we can get some damage off on those things if we need. And then Rocks is just there as, you know, good general support. Excadrill is a Lumberry set. This was Jar's idea. I was doing a lot of team building with Jar for this part of the tournament, and I'm really appreciative of his help. But Excadrill, the idea is that it can come in on Cresselia, not really take any damage, go for SD as he brings in something like Alomomola. Alomomola will go for Scald. It's not going to do much because it's an Alomomola and it's weak as piss. But what's nice then is that if he does get a burn with the Scald, we have the Lumberry to immediately cure ourselves. So that's the idea here. And then once we get to +4, we can really break down his walls. Like, we're probably not going to be able to just sweep him outright because we're slower than things like Mienshao, obviously. Jolteon can't do a whole lot to Excadrill. I'm not super worried about that. At least it can't OHKO us from like over more than half. So yeah, if we can get up Sand, then Excadrill can win on its own, which is nice, with some prior damage on his biggest threats. But otherwise, it's just here as a wall breaker. Speaking of wall breaker, Subtoxic Zapdos. This thing is a lord. This is so dang good. He doesn't have anything on his team that can hit it for stab super effective damage. The only thing that he's going to be able to use to beat this set is like a Toxic Mon. And he might not be too inclined to bring Toxic because he has Tapu Fini. We'll kind of have to see how he plays that one out. But yeah, this is an amazing set. This is another suggestion from Jar, so thanks to him. We have a defensive Mence, Roost, Dragon Pulse, Fire Blast, Toxic. This is the main switch into Mienshao, and I wanted to run Shardy Berry, but Rocky Helmet's going to be really nice for whittling the Mienshao as long as it doesn't have Regenerator, because Rocky Helmet's going to be hitting that thing every time it goes for High Jump Kick. This doesn't do a whole lot versus his team otherwise. It doesn't switch in on like Flygon. I guess it can do a little damage to Aggron, which is nice, and can do a little damage to Registeel. We have a Expert Belt, Salazzle, Toxic Sludge Fire, Blast, Hidden Fire, Ice. Similar set to what I had versus the LA Landorus, but this time with Expert Belt, because I want the little bit of extra output for Mega Aggron. If it's only fully HP invested, we can OHKO with Fire Blast, which is pretty good. And then last but not least, we have defensive Tapu Fini. I know I just said in the other Team Builder segment that I don't love defensive Fini, but it's good here. And Nature's Madness plus Moonblast is good for whittling his team, especially Nature's Madness. Like, he has so many bulky Mons that it'd be nice to get 50% chip on them. And then this set with Taunt and Defog can prevent Cresselia from setting up. It can completely shut down Alomomola and stuff like that. Prevent Flygon from setting up and sweeping. That's the reason that we ran this thing defensive, is because Flygon is kind of a threat. So yeah, that's the team. Let's hop into our final battle. And finally, here is my last game versus the Sacramento Nido Kings, coached by It's Whatever. He has brought Alomomola, Tapu Fini, Registeel, Mega Aggron, Jolteon, and Mienshao. And so I knew right away that he wasn't going to have anything to deal with my Jolteon. I just needed to, or sorry, my Jolteon, my Zapdos. I just need to make sure that nothing is able to Toxic it, and I can literally beat his whole team. The only thing that could potentially do some work versus me is Mienshao with Stone Edge, but I can easily scout for that and play around it. Finny can take a hit. Salamence can take one hit, not a problem. So there's no reason for me not to just go ahead and lead off with my Zapdos, as he goes ahead and leads off with his Aggron. So this thing can definitely do damage to me. But I'm going to sub just to scout out what he wants to do. He might just want to go for Rocks turn 1, which he does. And I'm just going to fire off a T-Bolt now. And it's going to do good damage. It's going to do 40%. And I get a para and a full para on the first turn. So obviously that's very fortunate. But just getting off that damage was going to be really nice. And I could have switched into a couple of things to potentially deal with this Aggron. Depending on what move he wants to go for. If he wanted to go for Heavy Slam, like, I can go into Salazzle, or I go to Mence and get off an Intimidate or something like that. Then I could roost off the damage that it'd be doing with something like Ice Punch. And I could also go for a Fire Blast versus it, which would do nice damage. But I can't deny that this is very fortunate for me, because now I can fire off a second T-Bolt, as he does break my sub with Ice Punch. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go for a sub again, because he might switch out, and he also might get full parried. So there's no reason for me not to do that. He goes right into his Zapdos, or sorry, not into his Zapdos. I keep on switching their names up. He goes into Jolteon, and his Volt Switch does not break my sub because I am very invested in Spadef. And I go for a Toxic, which does not hit the incoming Aggron. He can keep playing this switch game if he wants, but it actually doesn't bother me because this whole time I'm getting leftovers. And he's going to finally be able to break my sub with the next Volt Switch. But if I'm not mistaken, I either predicted the Volt Switch and went for another sub, or I just went for the T-Bolt predicting the Aggron. So yeah, that's what I did. I was able to kill the Aggron with a predicted T-Bolt. So that's pretty nice. And my Zapdos has basically killed a member with no consequences whatsoever. I've lost 7% of my HP. So he brings in the Aloe. And this I don't quite understand because Aloe cannot break a sub on a Zapdos. I don't really care what sort of moves you have. It's just not happening. So he goes for Protect as I go for the sub. I'm just going to go ahead and Toxic this thing because even if he wants to switch in, I don't really care. And he reveals the Mirror Coat. So I'm definitely not going to go for T-Bolt versus this thing now. And I'm just going to go for this Toxic as he goes for yet another Mirror Coat. I'm going to go for Roost. I'm going to go for Sub. I'm going to go for Toxic. I'm going to go for anything that is not Thunderbolt versus this thing as he brings in the Registeel. And Registeel does not take hits particularly well from this thing. It takes it okay. It also helped that I got a crit. But this thing can break my subs. I don't want it to Toxic me. Like, that would be pretty much the worst case scenario. And I'm only doing like 20% or so, so this must be Spadef. It's a good switch in for a Feeny, I suppose. But I'm just going to go into my Ments, because if it wants to go for an attack, I can roost it off easily. And I do get off that nice chip from the Rocky Helmet, so that's not even bad. And he goes right into his Finny. Makes sense. Ments doesn't have any move to hit the Finny. And but I am able to roost up, get up to full HP. And I can go into my own Finny. And if he wanted to Calm Mind, I could taunt and do some other shenanigans. Gets a Spadef drop. He does a surprising amount of damage, actually. I'm pretty sure that based on that, he's fully offense invested. And based on the way that he's going to be playing it in the next couple of turns, I'm pretty sure this is Scarf Finny. So he goes for another Moonblast. Does some good damage. I'm just going to go for Defog to get away the rocks. Finny isn't super important for walling much else on his team. I guess it could potentially wall Mienshao. So I do have to be careful. I go into my Salazzle because he seems to be spamming Moonblast. And yeah, I can just go for a... I predicted the Registeel to come in. It did not, obviously. If I had gone for Sludge Wave there, this Aloe probably would be 2 KO'd, especially after toxic damage and things like that. So, interesting play, but I suppose he just wants an opportunity to wish and pass into something like Registeel. But I'm just going to try and get damage off on this. As he goes for Wish, and he's down to 1%, he's probably going to be switching out. Goes into his Registeel. I do go for the Toxic, hit this Registeel, which is awesome. I haven't had the chance to poison a Steel type yet with Salazzle, so that felt really good. Get off a Fire Blast, do 70%. He goes for the T-Wave on me. So because he's this T-Wave, he's probably not going to be packing Toxic. But, you know, it doesn't really matter that much. I missed the Fire Blast, which is pretty unfortunate, but all in all, not that important because I can kill him on this next turn. But joke's on me, I get full parried. And he's able to do another 33% to me as he does finally die to this Toxic. But, you know, Salazzle isn't super important for anything at this point. I guess it could outspeed a non-Scarf Mienshao, but not a big deal. He goes right into Finny. And I go into my Zapdos now because, again, I think that this is Choice Scarf. And I don't think there's any way that he's going to stay in with his Finny versus me. Because, obviously he doesn't want to get hit with an electric type attack. So I'm pretty sure that I click sub here, expecting him to switch on out. Which he does. He goes into his Jolteon. And I can't hit this thing because the Misty Terrain is up, so I can't even get off a Toxic versus it. But I can stall out the Misty Terrain quite easily. He can go for T-Bolt. It does break the sub every time. But I can just roost up until the point I'm ready to go for Toxic. And I'm still at 100%, and now the Misty Terrain is going to expire. And he goes for Volt Switch, which, as we've seen, doesn't really break my sub. That time, I guess I got a roll and was going to be able to kill it. But yeah, here comes the Mienshao. which also can't break the sub. And I don't know if I go for a Roost or a Toxic here. I go for a T-Bolt. So he is getting me a little bit with his Volt Absorb. And, you know, it's eventually going to wear me down, but I can get off a Roost. And I can eventually go for Toxic on this thing. He has no chance of paralyzing me, obviously. Get off the Toxic on the Zapdos finally. No, on the Jolteon. I keep on getting them mixed up. Ugh. But yeah, now I can just Roost for eternity, and there's absolutely nothing he can do. I am going to go ahead and switch on out, though, because I don't need my Zapdos taking too much damage, and I've already used a lot of Roosts, so I want to preserve those Roosts for something like Mienshao if I can help it. Goes for the HP Ground with the Jolteon, but I take it pretty well, and then I can retaliate with an Earthquake. There's no point in me saving my Excadrill here. It's done its job. It took on the Jolteon, and I can get up a nice chunk of damage versus this Finny. That's kind of when I also realized that this was Scarf, because my Excadrill was EV to outspeed Finny. And it took a ton from that Earthquake, way more than it should have. I can just go for the EQ, or sorry, not the EQ, the Thunderbolt, take out the Finny. And he's going to go into his Aloe here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so this is just a free Roost, a free sub. If he did have Toxic, I definitely should have gone for sub there. I'm not sure why I did anything different. But he is going to be able to Wish, but it's a wasted effort, because he can just get whittled by the Toxic and he will eventually die. I'm not going to T-Bolt him because I've already seen the Mirror Coat. I'm just going to let him get completely whittled by this Toxic, and we can skip a few turns. He eventually goes into Mienshao, gets a high jump kick off, breaks my sub. I can get off a huge chunk of damage, and he's not going to be able to kill me with any moves, so I just go for the T-Bolt again and take him out. So, Subtoxic Zapdos, who would have thought? Jar would have thought that's the answer to that question. So, thanks for the tip, Jar. Really put in the work this game, and that's going to bring our record to 2-1. It's going to give us a differential of +4, and it will allow us to advance in this tournament, and that means that we make the bracket stage, which is pretty awesome, and hope that we can start a good run there. And let's hop on into our first bracket game. All right, so after 3 games in the final pool round, we went 2-1, and we were able to advance as the 2 seed from our pool, which is great. That means that we make it to the bracket stage. It is a 48-person bracket. The 1 seeds from the All-Star pools got byes, and everybody else got to face off in the first round. So basically, it's like the round of 64 and like the true March Madness, but just a third of the teams get an auto win and go straight to the round of 32. And in our first game, we drew against Rob Jr., Pokey TCG Gamer, coach of the Gotham City Goldlurks, and this guy has been tearing it up in the MPL minors. I think there's actually, whoops, give me 1 second, guys. There we go. Okay. What I wanted to do was come in here and fix his name because it's not 2 R's. Wanted to fix that. He's been tearing it up in the MPL minors. He is like unstoppable there. And we got him as our first draw, and he has like all the mons that I match up poorly versus. He's got Coco, Landorus, T, Weavile, Slowbro, Bronzong, Buzzwole, Serena, and Mega Aerodactyl. Weavile and Mega Aero outspeed everything on my team, as well as Coco. It's just really hard for me to deal with, and I don't have defensive answers for Lando that are any good. Like, I could pack Celebi to resist the ground moves, but Celebi gets destroyed by Weavile, destroyed by Arrow, destroyed by Buzzwole, and it doesn't really do that well versus Bronzong or Coco. So this matchup is horrible. And I know that Rob is a great player. He's probably better than me, all things considered. And at this point in the tournament as well, you have literally 15 minutes to build. So it's not like I could really do any testing or anything, think about the sort of sets that would be good in this matchup. I just got to think, okay, well, I've got to go as fast as possible. And plus, like 2 or 3 of those minutes is spent finding the team, like trying to figure out what he has, like putting everything into showdown, and like trying to like look at the team and say, okay, how can I beat this? So it was very hard, but we did our best. We went with another Shokoberry, Excadrill, Stealth Rock, Earthquake, Ironhead, Toxic, mainly to check Koko, just because I don't have another Koko check on my team, really. Put enough speed in here for Buzzwole. And Toxic's nice for that Buzzwole. It's also nice for Lando, which I otherwise cannot hit. Like, Ironhead does a little bit of damage, but, you know, whatever. Then we have Cabiberry, Tapu Fini, Moonblast, Ice Beam, Nature's Madness, Defog. A lot of defense investment to take Poison Jabs from Buzzwole and Poison Jab from Weavile. And then Moonblast, I put enough EVs in here to one-shot a Weavile after 1 hit of Life Orb. So that's the reason why we have this investment for special attack, and then we put the rest into defense, made it bold. Put a little speed on here just to prevent any speed creeping. Brought another Sash Salazzle in case he's Rock Polish Lando. Want to try to outspeed that thing. With the speed investment, we can outspeed... It wasn't Lando. What was it? Yeah, I guess it was Lando. That's max speed, but... whatever. I think that's what it was for. Brought a Zapdos, Thunderbolt, HP Ice, Toxic Roost. Brought a Spadef set because I wanted... Like, I could pretty well wall Buzzwole without any defense investment, and then this allows me to sit in front of things like Slowbro. I can take hits from Koko if I need, and those are really his only 2 special attackers. But yeah, I'll also be relying on this for Lando, so we'll see how this goes. I unfortunately didn't get to nickname my Ninetales, but I brought an Expert Belt set, Agility, Blizzard, Moonblast, Dark Pulse. This does do great damage to his team. I just needed some prior damage first. And then last but not least, I have a Rock Polish Tyranitar. I could have tried to bring this as a Koko check, but you know, it's just really easy for Koko to get momentum on Tyranitar. It's not really a great check to it. Plus, I could just run U-turn, so it can do some good damage to an otherwise Spadef set. I thought this coverage was pretty decent versus his team, and then Choppleberry is going to be a good lure for things like Weavile, for things like potentially Lando. Like, he's probably just going to click Earthquake most of the time, but it does get Superpower, so that could work. And it's also a lure for Buzzwole. So he could go for an attack versus me, then I pop my Chopple and I go for Flamethrower, do big damage to it, or potentially go for Rock Polish. So I don't think I have a lot of answers for his threats. I have some, like, you know, some defensive checks here. I've got a couple of win conditions, so if I play it correctly, like, I think I might have a chance, but it's definitely an uphill battle. But you guys are just going to have to stay tuned for the next battle, and we'll see how things turn out for us. Okay, here we are versus Rob Jr., and he has brought Landorus, Weavile, Bronzong, Aerodactyl, Buzzwole, and Slowbro. So, very interesting. He's brought like 5 special or physical attackers and then Slowbro. But his only other special attacker on his team was Koko. I was quite surprised to see that on the bench just because it outspeeds my entire team. It has pretty good coverage. Even like Excadrill can only check it so well. So, yeah, very interesting. I'm not 100% sure what I lead off with. I think I'd lead off with either Zapdos or Excadrill. Let's just hop on into the battle and we will see. He leads off with his Buzzwole, as I lead off with my Finny. Yeah, Finny was a good lead versus the majority of his team, because he doesn't have a way on his team to hit me super effectively with Stab, which is quite nice. But I think there's no way that he's going to be staying in here. He's probably going into his Bronzong, so I'm just going to click Nature's Madness, which does hit this Bronzong for 50%. Quite nice. I'm going to go right on into my Excadrill, and he's going to go for Stealth Rock, so makes perfect sense. I'm going to get up my own rocks as he goes for double Stealth Rocks. I guess he was expecting my spin, which is a fair enough play. Now he goes into the Lando, and I go for the EQ. Now I know that this is a Z-move user, and I know that it could potentially set up and sweep my team, because I don't have a counterplay to Lando. So I have to go for Toxic here. I am packing Shokoberry, so I can live in EQ, and he does go right for the Rock Polish. So I just need this Toxic to hit, and thankfully it does. So this Lando is still a threat, but we will eventually be able to whittle it down. It doesn't have any leftovers or anything. Goes for the EQ, does a ton of damage, but luckily we can get off a little chip. And at the end of this next turn, he will be at 20%. And now I'm going to go into my Zapdos. Excuse me. Now this is a really pivotal turn. I could have switched out here, scouting for the rock type move, because I think actually even just a Stone Edge would have killed. But there was still the opportunity for him to go for Continental Crush here. It's funny because I almost actually put Shardy Berry on this Zapdos instead of leftovers. That would have been really nice for exactly this situation. But as played, I probably could have gone into something like my Ninetales and just sacked it, because it wasn't that great versus his team. Like, yes, if I can whittle the Bronzong a little bit more, get some chip on the Slowbro, I could potentially win with Ninetales, but I have other ways to win. I guess actually the T-Tar sack wouldn't have been bad here either. T-Tar is just not that great in this matchup. But as played, I let him go for the Continental Crush and kill my Zapdos. This is a really big problem for me because now I have no way to hit the Slowbro super hard. I don't have a way to deal with Buzzwole. And it's also a pretty decent way of hitting Bronzong. I only have my Salazzle to hit Bronzong, but I want my Salazzle to be preserved for getting off a hit on like Aerodactyl or something like that. So letting Zapdos go down was a big issue, a really big issue. On the bright side, the Lando does die to the toxic damage, so at least I've gotten rid of that. And Bronzong is still, you know, very low, so that's nice. He goes straight into that Bronzong now. And I can't do a lot of damage to this thing, but I can go ahead and defog the rocks. As he goes for Gyro Ball, does like 18%. That actually shows that he has some attack investment, which is good to know. But I want to continue to wear this thing down. I probably could have gone Salazzle, but there's also the chance that you could have gone for Earthquake, which would have been pretty scary. I go for Nature's Madness. He gets his rocks again. I think I go for another Nature's Madness. No, I go for a Defog, just trying to prevent the rocks from getting up. As he goes for EQ, good play predicting either my Salazzle or my Tyranitar. I'm gonna go for another Nature Madness I'm gonna go for Moonblast on this turn. It's looking like it's not even a 2-hit KO. He gets up his rocks. I noticed that my Finny was starting to get a little bit weakened, and this is my check for both Buzzwole and Weavile, and I have no recovery on it. So I didn't want it to get even more weakened, but that was probably a misplay because like I'm gonna have to come in on rocks again. I'd be like at 40% HP, and I'm still not taking 2 hits from Weavile or Buzzwole. Like a resisted hit plus the poison jab is still going to kill me through the Kebia Berry. So I should have either switched out my Finny a little earlier, or I should have just left it in to die, because at that point it wasn't going to be doing anything. So instead I decided to switch into my T-Tar. He goes for the Gyro Ball, and Gyro Ball does 50% to my T-Tar, so that's really bad for me. And I can Flamethrower this thing and kill it. But now that my T-Tar is weakened, he can come in with his Buzzwole very easily, go for Superpower, and even though I'm Chopple Berry, he's going to be able to easily kill me because Buzzwole is a god. As is Matty Brolic, very appropriately named. And he goes into, or I go into Salazzle. I'm expecting him to switch out, but I just go for Fire Blast. And it doesn't do a whole lot to this Slowbro. It gets a burn, which is not bad. He's revealed not to be leftovers. But based on how little damage all this is doing, I'm thinking this is an AV Slowbro. It might even be Max Spadef. I haven't calced it. But yeah, that did a ridiculously little amount of damage. I go into my Finny. I can go for Moonblast pretty freely here. There's not a whole lot that he can switch in. But for some reason, I go for the Defog because I want to potentially set up my Ninetales. And I was thinking that, I hadn't taken any damage. I hadn't taken 2 hits. I think from the range of HP that I'm at, 41%, I should be able to live a Poison Jab. But he's unfortunately packing Thunder Punch as his coverage instead. That's really smart, just given the fact that Kebia Berry was going to be really obvious. And he's going to be able to kill my Tapu Fini here. And that's actually going to give him the attack boost from the Beast Boost. So if I had any chance of living this superpower before, I definitely don't now. I go for agility, and Buzzwole's gonna be able to pick up the KO. So maybe I could have just gone for the Moonblast there, but I don't think it would have killed this Buzzwole. Like, I was max attack, but I wasn't too, I was just expert belt. I kind of want to check real quick, actually. And let's see if I put expert belt, Moonblast to a typical Buzzwole. No, Moonblast does kill like a 0 HP Buzzwole. It even kills a max HP Buzzwole. So unless he was Roselli Berry, we were going to be killing that thing. So maybe regret, but he was still going to be able to come in with Aerodactyl and get off a rock hit, and that was definitely going to kill. Yeah, the superpower actually, if he was adamant, it wasn't, even if he was adamant, yeah, it wasn't going to kill my Ninetales. So yeah, the best play there probably was just to go for Moonblast, but yeah, I don't think there's going to be any way that I could pull it out, because Weavile's probably packing a move to hit me, probably Poison Jab. Aerodactyl can revenge kill me. So anyway, it's going to be a good game to Rob Jr., and that is going to be the end of our tournament run, which is, disappointing. But we had to play a lot of competitors to get this far, and hopefully in the future we can step up our game and go even further. To be honest, I kind of would like it if UBC or some other league that I join in the future gets all-star invites and I'm included amongst the all-stars, just because doing this like pool stage stuff was really exhausting. Like, I know that the all-stars had their own pools that they had to play earlier, but it just seems like it would save on a lot of headache, because I had a lot of fun, but this was exhausting and stressful. I'm not saying I wouldn't do it again if I had to, but I think given the option, I would just say thanks, but no thanks. I'll do this next time. But yeah, big shout out to everybody that I battled. Big shout out to Jolt and the Token Minorities for hosting this tournament. Big thanks to all their staff for helping out. Big thanks to Jar for helping me team build, as well as Immortal Mence. Immortal Mence really helped me out. And yeah, just great time, and hopefully I showed some decent skills. I wouldn't say it's some good skills, because I feel like I played kind of poorly in some of these games. Like versus Trav, I think I played pretty badly, and some of my prelims I played badly, even though I ended up winning. But it's all good experience, and hopefully people, when they hear Choice CJ, they'll think of a good guy, good battler, somebody who they would like to have around. So anyway, that'll do it for me. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you check back to the channel for other gaming and Pokemon content. And until the next time, I will see you guys later.